Hey, good evening, everyone. It is Sunday, the evening of June 26th at approximately, well, it's getting close to 7 p.m. my time. And God, what a beautiful night where I live. I hope you are enjoying just a beautiful summer night. God, nothing better than summer. But still, shit tons of volatility out there, my friends. And, I wanted to start off with telling you a personal story that transcended me from yesterday. And I attended this magnificent air show with my family yesterday. It was known as the Warriors of the Wasatch, and as it turns out, I think there was literally over 600,000 people that came to this event on this huge Air Force base. And I mean, the power, the precision, the amount of people, the energy, all sorts of people. I mean, I saw families. I saw guys that looked like they were Hell's Angels with GNR T-shirts and Van Halen T-shirts, and they were covered in tattoos alongside families, alongside a few women that I thought were Arnold Schwarzenegger, which was pretty interesting, and of course a couple of "Let's Go Brandon" T-shirts. And I'm just kind of soaking the whole thing in, and it was just glorious. A summer day, this amazing, uh, just I guess an example of power. I mean, it just the power, the precision, the technology, the everything that's involved was just remarkable. I remember they were actually dropping ordinances, and I've seen a couple of these shows in the past, but this is the best one I've ever seen. I saw one in California back in the '90s that I think over 1 million people showed up to. But the heat from this ordinance was probably a quarter mile away, and just the precision and the accuracy of dropping these bombs on these targets and everything else with the jet aircraft and the loud noises. I mean, the loudest noises I've ever heard in my life that just throttled my brain. And I've been to pretty much every heavy metal show under the sun, so I've been around a lot of loud places. Not to mention the stereo in my car when I was in high school. But this was like magnitudes larger loud. And I'm thinking there, looking at this whole thing. I wasn't judging anybody. I wasn't like, people here are not aware of the world they live in, that they're, ignorant or stupid to the types of information of things that I continue to try to share with you. They're people doing their thing, just like I'm doing my thing, just like we're all doing our thing. But there's this unfortunate, reality that you see this absolute mammoth strength on display that has only unbelievable technology and the best of the people that have to operate this type of stuff, soup to nuts. And it just is such a demonstration of how capable this country it is of achieving greatness. I think about NASA all the time. I think about engineering feats. I think about technology. I think about breakthroughs in medicine and DNA and you name it. But then I think about the converse of that and all of the things that have happened where people given so much information and technology and everything else, something like what happened on Friday that just seems like it's taking us back 100 years. And there's this just weird, crazy contradiction. And the way I interpret it is, it's like there is no way in hell, for example, that 19 hijackers could show up on our shores, live for most of the time in which it was revealed, that the highest levels of intelligence knew it, and then Dick Cheney and George Bush prevented the agencies from talking to each other. For what outcome? I mean, to consider that in context, what I'm telling you about this air show and this display of military might is just so unfathomable to me that people aren't even aware of this. Not to mention, we're talking about the PGA and Phil Mickelson, because he's in. To be honest with you, he's in debt, from what I understand. Playing for the Saudis, and the Saudis were the ones that made, regardless of how it shapes up and when it comes clear, the Saudis were 9/11. I'm sorry, as was Bush and Cheney and the oil financial matrix. And not much has changed. I could go into the Saudi IPO, Saudi Aramco IPO with all of the heads of Wall Street, and then you see, of course, Donald frickin' Trump licking the toes of the Saudis, and of course these deals that his former Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury Steve Mnuchin, and his son-in-law Jared Kushner. The whole thing is just disgusting. If you're at all a patriot and somebody who understands the power and the prestige and everything that we've accomplished, to see this on display, I mean, it's like creep show. It's like the weirdest, disgusting, despicable betrayal of the United States, second to a financial system that just basically works for the mob. That's all they are. They're the mob. It's a setup. It's just a massive Ponzi scheme. Then they've figured out a way to infiltrate the Federal Reserve and financial policy. And I was on Twitter tonight promoting, and I hope you'll all join. And this is really the reason I'm dropping this truth bomb tonight, is because there's no option with the duopoly. Okay, obviously there's a lot of MAGAs out there that can't stand Biden and they can't stand the Democrats. I will never side with you on a lot of things, but I will tell you, you're not wrong about a lot of things that have come out of this Democratic Party that's sold itself out from Wall Street and the military-industrial complex and technology and everything that comes with it. And, they will not wrestle away corruption to get the types of answers that are going to work for the American people. I mean, we literally have to recreate the entire country. Here's a guy in a hat on a Sunday afternoon looking completely, casual, not even casual. I mean, just, like I just came back from a hike with friends and that sort of thing. And, here I am telling you what we have to do to basically maneuver the biggest paradigm shift in history for our country. We got to get off the fossil fuel freaking, financial paradigm and the way that it operates, because you don't understand what it's done to fucking destroy us and continue to destroy us. And everything that we're dealing with on a daily basis, from inflation at the pump and everything else. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for all of that stuff, but we're still dependent on a technology based on fossil fuel that's over, 120 years old in terms of, our capacity, just our infrastructure and in our energy paradigm and so on and so forth. It's just ridiculous that we have the tech. It's not going to be perfect moving forward on the photovoltaic side. We got problems with, of course, the lithium-ion batteries and cobalt and international supply chains and all of those kinds of things. There's always going to be problems when you scale something globally, quite frankly. Okay, we got to work our way through this. But come on, man. The nature, the magnitude of what we've been doing with fossil fuels for hundreds and hundreds of years that culminated with Saudi and everything I'm telling you, it's just ridiculous. But what does that, convey in terms of the frustration that we all feel, particularly if you're, on the blue and you recognize everything I'm saying is true, plus all of the other issues like systemic racism and, Roe v. Wade and all of these other problems that we've just immured to ourselves, that just get harder and harder to work out of because of quite frankly, the matrix of corruption. Special interest groups that pay for their lobbyists, their lawyers, their politicians, they get entrenched, and they just basically, they have these guys, diabolically, maneuvering behind the scenes, the grift that's going to create these outcomes. Whether it's SCOTUS, whether it's the gun control lobby, just the opposite of gun control, the libertarian mindset of the Second Amendment and everything else in light of the likes of Uvalde, right? So what I'm saying is that there's no options between the duopoly because corruption has complete control of these two situations. And so we're introducing, and it has been in existence for a while, but I'm definitely supporting, I'm involved with Rocky Anderson's The Justice Party. It's at justiceparty.us, www.justiceparty.us. Starting tomorrow, there's going to be 4 consecutive meetings, Zoom meetings. Please go and sign up, become a part of this, hear what's going on, add your opinion, be heard, figure out how we can cultivate a movement that's designed to create just activism on all of these issues that we need to be able to get into the streets and bring attention and force issue within both political bodies that are going to ultimately have control, starting in, moving forward with the midterms and so forth. It's not a complete fundamental third party that's like, look, we're going to do it against everybody else's sort of corruption and wishes, because we know that's not realistic. Doing a third party based on a hierarchy and a platform and everything else at this stage of the game has to prove first that you can get the millions of people to understand what the issues are and the details of those issues. My issue is corruption. My issue is everything that relates to the Federal Reserve and quantitative easing and the toxic assets it's been buying back since I've been revealing this in the Con, which is at www.thecon.tv, and everything that comes with it. Also, the new Untouchables. Check out this podcast that we did. We did 19 episodes that are just magnificent, that bring the whole thing from policy to the destruction, quite frankly, of regulation to make sure that these types of things don't happen. And what are these things that we're talking about? They're basically just grift. They're setups. They're Ponzi schemes. They're deception. And ultimately, they're set up to make money in a big way, that train wrecked the United States. You got to think of it as a wave, a tidal wave. It crested with everybody getting in the mix. Then it came down and it blew everybody else up, except for the people that actually designed it, engineered it, executed it. They walked away with trillions upon trillions of dollars. Trillions upon trillions of dollars that went right back into the same casino that they just adjusted slightly, and they've been doing zombie companies, stock buybacks, lies on other asset management, and then they recreated the housing bubble again. And we're hearing all of this discussion about what the Federal Reserve is going to do if they increase interest rates and what's that's going to mean to employment. They're going to create a recession and unemployment so that they can wrest control of inflation. Meanwhile, they spent $50 trillion on toxic assets, polluted corruption, engineered freaking calamity, that's taken down millions. This is not possible in the land that can create the power and the might of what I just described earlier. I mean, I think to myself, how would it be if a carrier group in whatever ocean operated with such disregard for professionalism? Such disregard, just allowed the kind of insanity that I'm talking. What would be the consequence? Well, I don't know. Maybe the consequence is something like Donald Trump becoming president based on thousands and thousands of lies that he just basically got a piece for himself by taking one for the team, for the Christian right that got itself, Roe v. Wade overturned and everything that's going to come with it. A lot of people are really aggravated right now, and they're activated because they know that Roe v. Wade is also a first step to basically overturning all of these civil rights victories that have taken place, really for the last decade, right? So it's not going to end. If you're not involved, if you're not active, these grifters, these hyenas of power, they will rip it from you, they will send you into misery, and they will stomp on you when you're down. I'm not that kind of guy. I want to compete. I want to wrestle control away from the bad guys because life, liberty, and justice for all, based on honest principles, honest business, accountability for the bad guys, is the country that I grew up with. They're at least thinking that's what we were. I knew we were flawed, but I didn't think we had, my God, you just take your favorite, criminal mob boss, whether it was, the Gaudis, in New York and the five families in New York, or, Escobar down in South America and everything that comes with it. Do you not understand corruption? Do you not understand what happens to a country when people in power don't have integrity? You have a massive, massive disaster, and that's what we have on our hands. Please check out thejusticeparty.us. Please sign up for the Zoom calls. I'll be there. We want to hear from you. We want to be able to present this whole thing. Check out Rocky Anderson online. We've got to build a groundswell of American citizens that are willing to fight back against the madness that has enveloped this country. Thank you for listening. Onwards and upwards. Have a terrific night. Be well.